Next on ToonTalk, the corporate hypocrisy one AI company claims it's fighting against. One thing that stops bad guys too from being 5-star, that's my review. Crunchyroll cuts some jobs, it's not even to cut costs. Hobie Gets a SpiderPunk Spin-off, of course. Talking Sony, we're going to cover a little bit about K-pop demon hunters, talk about some of that D23 news, and we're going to slide into the TimeWarp. And I've got to give you a few of my thoughts on the best animated feature discussion that's happening pretty early. All right, let's get started. This is ToonTalk. This is going to be a briefing, an amalgamation of news, thoughts, and nostalgia in the animation realm. Of course, I am your host, Brian, the Baltimorean. You can find me right here at athemocracy. You can find me at CartoonChatPodcast.com. This will go out. This is the August/September edition. Plans are for this to come out in mid-September. Hopefully it does, alongside a brand new Cartoon Chat episode, so you can check that out right at the same time. We start always with the ToonTalk Times. We're going to start with our news roundup here, and the top story that I've got is the biggest, broadest behemoth that we're wrangling with today, and that's AI. Now, you might be using it as a tool in your own life, or you might be vehemently against the idea of using it at all. But in business, everyone's using it. More than 1 in 3 small businesses in the U.S. have adopted the use of AI in some way, shape, or form. Reportedly, 99% of Fortune 500 companies, these are the top 500 companies in total revenue based within the U.S., utilize it within their enterprises. 2 of those 500 include the Walt Disney Company and Comcast. Both sued an AI company for copyright infringement earlier this year, claiming the company's art, quote, functions as a virtual vending machine, generating endless unauthorized copies of Disney's and Universal's copyrighted works. In a similar instance in spring of this year, OpenAI took on significant criticism for Ghibli AI. The capability was reportedly made by training the AI models on Studio Ghibli films, promotional art, and even fan-made content, creating a final product that can create or morph an image into a Ghibli-like style. According to CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, the popular new feature reportedly grew the service's user base by double, estimated now to sit between 800 million and 1 billion users. And Ghibli AI was fought against online. Speculation even rose that Ghibli might sue OpenAI, but here we are at the end of summer, the very end of summer, and it's still extremely popular and still available. Now back to our core point. Earlier in August, the AI company that had been sued by Disney and Comcast retaliated against the claims of copyright infringement. We're talking Midjourney Inc. They launched 4 years ago in August of 2021, and the AI that bears its name began public testing in 2022. It is one of several AI image generators that have spawned in this new field. It competes with OpenAI's DALL-E, Adobe's Firefly, and many more. It's one of the top competitors at the moment. Now, many of the core positions and expectations the AI company stands on in this lawsuit are completely against the idea of personal creativity. I mean, they regularly confirm that widespread image and data gathering is just par for the course. Midjourney doesn't believe it's liable for the creation of AI art that uses IP, even though the company reportedly trains its AI on image gathering and data that they themselves are unsure of having details of a particular intellectual property. Quote, Midjourney does not presuppose and cannot know whether any particular image is infringing absent notice from a copyright owner and information regarding how the image is used. They need to know before you actually send it onto their AI service. It is a continuing reminder that the greatest problem with AI is that it just feeds off of human creativity. It mimics, it plagiarizes. That's its standard playbook, while simultaneously consuming more processing power and energy than standard computer operations. Midjourney honestly is probably not going to win this battle. I don't know. There's a lot of lawyering that still has to happen here. But the greatest retaliation is a nugget of truth that cannot go unnoticed. Quote, plaintiffs use and benefit from generative AI models, including Midjourney, and including in connection with some or all of the assorted works, end quote. Corporate giants simply plugging in the perfect prompt isn't the future. It's already happening. And their attempt to shutter AI creation of content that looks like their own IP could be seen as hypocritical when the next mascot, catchphrase, or concept is definitely built on boardrooms that already use it. For more information on this story, check out Eileen Kinsella's story at news.artnet.com. Check out Duncan Riley's story at siliconangle.com, Barbara Pazur's story at cnet.com, and Legal Eagle's own YouTube video on the subject. They're all linked in the description. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump into the ToonTalk times Turbo. Universal pushed Shrek 5 into summer 2027. This delays it by 6 months from its prior late 2026 release date. This is the first film of the franchise since Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in 2022 and the first Shrek movie in 17 years. Shrek 5 joins a congested month for animated features. The long-awaited Beyond the Spider-Verse and Pixar's Gato are already scheduled for the same month. Illumination, by the way, takes the place of Shrek 5 in December 2026. To be honest, I think all of us kind of perceived that the storyline was going to be something relating to, the teen angst of trying to get out of this comfort zone that parental structure creates. And it seemed very much like that first teaser was implying that. Obviously, the design gets very criticized. I think they could have nailed the concept that people were upset about. They could have absolutely done that. Obviously, even people were going as far. This was being hyper-watched. People were going so far as to maximize focus on what the daughter's eye colors are. We were going in on detail here. People are super excited for Shrek, clearly, and they just want to make sure that this thing that was so important in the 2000s is still significant when it comes out in 2027. It's still wild that that's happening because Shrek, for me, is, it's one of those things where it came out, this was a 2000s thing. This was the most valuable thing for DreamWorks in the 2000s, and it is cool that DreamWorks kind of no longer needs to rely on Shrek, and they kind of moved off that now. But you have Pixar doing a bunch of sequels. You might as well jump back into the race with Shrek 5. Makes sense. Speaking of Spider-Verse, by the way, the third Spider-Verse movie, fans have something new to look forward to beyond that. Now, Beyond the Spider-Verse is less than 2 years away, but one of the core characters that was introduced in Across the Spider-Verse may have his own feature in early development. Deadline reported that little is known of the film itself, except for the core team developing it. We're talking Daniel Kaluuya, who actually voices Hobie, Spider-Punk, and Ajon Singh, who are co-writing the film. It would be produced at Sony Pictures Animation. Obviously, the rest of the Spider-Verse works have been there too. There's no word about release date or a general synopsis, but who would hate a Spider-Punk movie? As long as they nail it, as long as they actually get to the course of the character, and the fact that Kaluuya is working on this means, I think, puts a lot more value into this concept. Obviously, when we're talking Spider-Verse, one of the best franchises of the last 10 years. It obviously has left a ripple effect in theatrical and just animation in general. I'm very excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse, but it's kind of weird where you had the Spider-Gwen movie and the Spider-Woman movie that was up in the air. Now you have this concept that's now getting traction. Again, just lock in on something. I think that not everything needs to be transitioned into live action either. I keep hearing about the Miles Morales live action film. I think we have something magical here with the Spider-Verse movies. The design is great. The story is great. People love this concept. And I think, again, if you start to just lean on this design that's been introduced here, I think you can just tether this out to many, many different things. Obviously, Noir is coming out too, so a lot to look forward to. What is there to say about K-pop Demon Hunters that just hasn't already been said? In fact, you can check out my review alongside my co-host K9 Biscuits at the Screen Blast podcast on this, but what hasn't been said? This film has topped Netflix viewership for more than a month. They had a brief theatrical run that was bombastic. Its soundtrack has topped charts all over the place. And by the way, because it became so popular, fans have researched everything about this. They've tried to look for everything. And what's been found is that even Sony didn't really believe in the concept. In what became a surprise to many, including myself, the studio behind some of the most dynamic films of the decade doesn't actually own the rights to this. Sony reportedly produced K-pop Demon Hunters for $100 million and agreed to a direct-to-platform deal where Netflix paid Sony the film's budget plus $20 million. Netflix then retained all rights to the property and owes no additional profit. This would mean that, look, Sony would come away with a fully financed film, and Netflix would be the biggest risk taker, because if K-pop Demon Hunters just failed or did moderately successfully, it'd be on their hands. However, what if it actually became a success? Like, what if not just a success, but like a juggernaut? Like, not just the movie of the summer, but one of the biggest things of the decade. Well, that would mean that Sony only pocketed $20 million on a film that, at the end of August, Netflix had already made that back on its brief theatrical run. There's a couple positives here. Sony pocketed from soundtrack sales. And on top of that, when you talk about good news for Sony or Netflix, and especially the fans, there is a sequel that's being planned with the same team at the helm. I think that everything about this screams good news, as long as those contractual agreements work out, as long as those negotiations work out. And again, this is one of the coolest things to come out of the 2020s. So onward and upward, guys. We hope for the best. And by the way, check out Pamela McClintock's story about the current state and success of K-pop Demon Hunters at HollywoodReporter.com. One of the more interesting things to be dropped from this year's D23 presentation by Disney is that the previously untitled Ice Age 6 now has a full name and a new release date. Now, for those of you that remember, when the original Ice Age released back in 2002, it put 20th Century Fox's Blue Sky Studios on the map. A quarter century later, here we are 5 films later, and in development at Disney's 20th Century Animation. The 6th installment will be called Boiling Point. It'll be the first Ice Age since 2016. The core cast returns. A director and writer have yet to be announced, which is interesting. And the film joins the extremely competitive year of 2027, hitting theaters in the chilly and fitting February. Now, Ice Age was massive, I think, for those of us that were born in the mid to late 90s. It's one of those staple movies that just gained traction as CG took off. CG animated movies took off. Ice Age, I think, to me, it kind of ends at the third movie, and then it becomes this thing that I stopped focusing on after the third movie. Everyone remembers Buck Wild. Everyone remembers the meltdown. Everyone remembers the first one. But you get into the territory where it gets a little, like, long in the tooth. But we'll see what they do with Boiling Point, and if it can actually gain some excitement from people. What I do know is that 2027 is going to be a messy year full of things that you've got to try to watch, apparently, for animation spaces. It might be a little too oversaturated, in fact. We've got to talk about this Cartoon Network news. You know this channel, I talk a lot about Cartoon Network. Let's talk about this news about Cartoon Network content being slashed here from Max. Now, when Warner Media launched its own streaming service back in 2020, that was going to be focused on more than HBO. It was going to compete with Netflix and obviously the newer content like Disney Plus. At the time, Cartoon Network fans finally had a place to legally stream animation that had been produced for one of America's strongest animation platforms in the cable era. Unfortunately, it looks like that access point is dried up. Over the last number of years, we've talked about the pullback that Max and Zaslav has had on the animation collection at HBO Max. I mean, it's been very disappointing, starting all the way back with Final Space. This obviously comes at the same time as Warner Brothers Discovery is planning to split into 2 distinct companies. Warner Brothers would be a collective of WB film production, the movie library content, and HBO content, and Discovery would have the cable channel holdings and the sports arm. End of the day, Cartoon Network series are still available. A few of them are through Hulu and Prime Video, but it is disappointing to see where we are on this. Again, with the whole concept, at a time when Cartoon Network was only airing about 4 to 5 shows, you were finally getting something where you could access it through them, and now we're back at the same point again. And I don't want to ever shout out, sailing the 7 seas, because you want those creators to be credited, you want those the art to be credited, you want all of that to be supported in the right ways. But if you're going to continue to just chop people at the knees over and over and over again with illogical means, then you're going to make people try to go and find any source they can to watch this stuff. And it's been incredibly disappointing to see the lack of support of Cartoon Network, which, again, I think the way that we're looking at Gumball now over at Hulu is probably the direction that we should be going for, where Cartoon Network is just this incredible producer of content that doesn't just serve its cable channel anymore. And I think that that's clearly what's leaning in that direction. But unfortunate, again, for everyone that works at Cartoon Network and people that have put out content for Cartoon Network over the last 30 plus years. In mid-August, Crunchyroll president Rahul Parini announced that the global leader in anime streaming and library would be cutting an undisclosed number of positions. This would be within the next decade as the company looks to widen its appeal to growing international markets. An exact number has not been announced, but it is not apparently for cost-cutting measures here. This is just to try to grow international markets and reach out there. I think it's interesting that, again, they don't just move people around. They don't say, hey, we want you to reach out in this direction or that direction, but they would know on the inside how well those efforts are going. Hexed is Walt Disney Animation Studios' next project after Zootopia 2, and I'm going to be blunt here. The synopsis is painfully generic. Like, I'm excited to see what they do here. In fact, I'm more curious if we finally get a little bit of an interesting change up in character design, in animation style. Like, you know, what we've seen from Disney over the past 5 years is not significantly evolutionary here. So what I'd like to see is leaning in that direction. I'm more curious about that because when I talk about this synopsis or just read it outright, here, watch this, watch. An awkward teenage boy and his type A mom discover that what make him unusual might just be magical powers that turn their lives and a secret world of magic upside down. Wow, guys, I need you to kind of rewrite that one into a way that makes people excited to see a movie, not to see the last 20 movies from this century. In fact, is this not a little onwardy? People have even brought up the Owl House. Like, is this not a little, like, in those two already? And it just, I don't know. I hope that this is good. The film will be directed by Jose Trinidad. This was the director and writer of Zootopia Plus, and Jason Hand, director of Moana 2. Moana 2, by the way, Moana 2 is interesting because, again, it was made to be an original series, and then it was translated over. All of the disrespect that it got, I think, literally removes all context from the equation, because in all honesty, I think it's punching above its weight for being a translation from a streaming sort of series concept. And I think it does enough to be great, but Moana 2 should have been amazing. It should have been as good as maybe a Spider-Verse. But again, it is what it is. Disney keeps doing this. They did this with Frozen 2. They didn't give the production team time to really iron things out. And then you know, with Moana 2, you've got this direction where you're just kind of shoving things into a smaller, confined area. But good luck to Hexed. Again, I'm never going to say that I'm disinterested in what Walt Disney Animation Studios has to do. I just need to see something beyond this premise because the premise tells me nothing interesting. We'll be back after you return from the Time Warp.
There they go!
We are the Time Warp Trio, of course. I've got a gang here to talk about some of the tunes that are hitting some cool birthday moments. First things first, it's the Bucket Hat himself. Ah! Look at him, living in space and time. He's got his spaceship. It's K9 Biscuits.
I'm looking for them cosmic rays so I can like get fucking superpowers and shit.
Have fun with those those Cosby
hopefully
rays.
It's not cancer.
Have fun with those Cosby rays. Anyway, of course you can.
Brian loves Cosby. He makes Cosby jokes all the time.
I don't know what he's talking about.
He has a Cosby poster in his room.
He
makes the best drinks.
You know, and then,
I tell you, ladies, he makes the best drinks.
I do, just not with that chemical, whatever we're talking about. Of course. Then we've got Nick. He's over.
What's up?
You see him there. He's got the brick wall behind him because he's transmitting from Earth. We just want to make sure genuinely
with Cosby rays.
With Cosby rays that we are actually not going to get sucked and portalized into the past forever. As much as most of us want to travel back in time, Why is Mark? What are we doing?
I'm getting away from Nick's Cosby Ray.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just trying to scoot. I'm just gonna scoot over to you.
A little inside baseball, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold the spaceship with the rocket.
It was bothering me that was off center.
Go, Boruto. My strength's gonna take me all the way to the top.
Naruto, the movie. This thing hit theaters August 7th, 2015. This was
was that Burrito?
This was a turning point for the franchise, of course. Whatever you think in the present, whatever you think about Boruto now, it was just an optimistic time. It was like, all right, what are we going to see going into the future here? Will they mess this thing up? Will this be good? And generally, this is thought of as a solid movie, a pretty good movie by some. No one really thinks this is terrible, unless you're blind. But yeah, Boruto the movie, 10 years old. Any thoughts on this? Any thoughts as we travel out of 2015?
I can give it one thing. It's a mainstream Shonen Jump anime that actually focus on the next generation. I can't give that to two main series.
No.
Yeah, I can't think of anything like, say... Well, no, Inuyasha, that's not Shonen, but like Dragon Ball, Bleach, as far as I know, they don't primarily focus on the next generation. Like, you got characters of the next gen, but the main characters are usually the same.
I get you, exactly. Yeah.
I thought this was terrible, but if my eyes were working, I'd probably say the same thing. I am blind.
Mark, just understand that you need better glasses. That's not super noobs. Just understand.
I seem like an episode or two, but I was like falling out of like TV anime in general around this time.
That's fair. We all have lives, just like our lives are to travel into 2005.
The Proud Family movies got adventure and action, comedy talking peanuts, even great fashion.
You're the bomb.
It's all that.
The sequel to the hit movie Lilo and Stitch. But this time, Stitch has a glitch.
Proud Family movie and Lilo and Stitch 2. Now, just to understand, the Proud Family, this was not just their movie, which premiered on August 19th. This was the series finale until its revival on Disney Plus years and years later. Lilo and Stitch 2, this came out August 30th, very end of the month. This was by Disney Toon Studios, and they did a really good job in terms of getting the look down of the actual movie. So, yeah. Let's go ahead.
That's good, but like good for like a freaking for a home release budget.
I thought Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch did well. The sequel it had stakes that were valuable. I thought that it didn't rely on some generic garbage trope, and again, I thought Lilo was done pretty like.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the animation. It wasn't as good as the original movie, but like it's good for like a direct DVD budget.
It's really good
because it tries to you realize like with this sequel, like it's trying to replicate the first movie, and then you realize like the sequel that came before the Stitch the movie is like going for a different art style. Along with the TV series.
Which, of course, the big deal with this one is it's sitting as the second. It's sitting as the sequel of the original. While we've now had a full series that has been in production for a long time, and the Stitch movie, which had come out already as well. So it's sitting in an awkward spot.
It's funny that you have this sitting right next to Proud Family because the crossover came out like week of the Proud Family movie.
What?
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's actually interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Because the Stitch the series had like a bunch of crossover with other Disney Channel shows, which like that was fucking cool. That was so fucking cool about that show. But like the Proud Family crossover episode of Lilo and Stitch, that came out like week of Proud Family movie.
And what do you guys think about the Proud Family movie?
That was a great.
It's a
that's a great like initial ending to the series. Because that was like. I think it was originally the last episode of the series before they came back on Disney Plus. But like that's a great TV movie. I didn't really enjoy that.
Nice.
You got like it was about the relationship between like Penny and Oscar, which are like Oscar is like the most cartooniest character on the show, and he's like the standout one. He's the funniest one. So it was a very enjoyable movie.
Good stuff.
Do you remember much from it?
No, not at all. How about you, Nick?
Fuck CartoonChat. I keep choosing. Yeah. I keep choosing it. Like I often end up choosing a bunch of fucking TV movies anyway. So fucking that's on a docket for like next year or the year after. We're doing that movie.
It's all eventual, guaranteed. It's one of those eventualities. Nick, you know anything about these two you want to jump in on?
I didn't know there was a Lilo and Stitch 2. Honest to God.
There also will be a live action one coming too, so don't you worry.
Ignore that.
I don't know.
Ignore that one.
I don't know how to feel about Yamamoto.
Don't pay money to go see it. Steal it.
I know there was the first movie and there was the main series.
Yes.
And this is for a joke. So I know the Proud Family crossover happened. And they also had a crossover with Kim Possible.
Yes.
So I'm like in a
Kim Possible, American Dragon, and the Recess Gang.
Kim Possible will look at the help of Oscar Proud to assist in the operation to beat Dragon. We haven't got it yet.
Not yet.
But one day.
At some point.
Yeah, here's how I can spoil it for you. Here's how they do it. Like Oscar gets into like the Dr. Dragon's lair, and Dr. Dragon's like, "I'm hungry. Here, have a Proud snack. One solid, make it taste bud hollow," and then Dr. Dragon dies. After eating a Proud snack.
All right, I think
because I think canonically those snacks are fucking deadly.
Right.
And they give you food poisoning.
Perfect.
But yeah, the Proud Family movie, I like how fun it was while it still had some of the serious moments. It was really genuine. And I can't help but think to myself all the time, Oscar Proud's clone deserves to have his own side series in my head some days. I will finish the mission.
Trudy!
It will happen, some comic or graphic.
Hello, America. This is Miss America. Coonskin's coming.
It's a parody. This is by Ralph Bakshi. He is of Fritz the Cat familiarity. Again, this guy generally pulls no punches in sort of having sort of these satirical takes on, just the real world, pop culture at the time and general culture that he really nailed. Again, Fritz the Cat and Coonskin, kind of his top dogs of that. Fritz the Cat, one of the, I think, pretty recognizable ones there. And this was R-rated. Reaching further into, and none of us have seen it yet, but I had to shout it out. It's hitting 50. So, rolling into beyond the 50-year mark.
Hey, wait a minute, Joe. Ain't we in a wrong picture? That title don't say nothing about Little Red Riding Hood. See? Swing, Shift, Cinderella.
We've got Swing, Shift, Cinderella.
I like the 4-for-all breaking clip you showed me of this. That was funny.
Yeah.
They run past the title card and it's like, we're not in this picture.
This of course, now this Swing Shift Cinderella is very much of the time, just around World War II period. This is again 1945 at this point. We're talking 80 years now, an 80-year tune. And it's got some great comedy here. Now you've got this wolf who's incredibly, he's almost, he's a little over anxious to get Cinderella here. And I love this interpretation of Cinderella because, again, this is before the Cinderella movie by Disney, of course. So Cinderella was a known name, but this is an interesting take. That's why I kind of pulled this diamond out of the rough as an interesting idea. And how they interpret what she does throughout the journey. It's like, okay, like she's she's got her own appeal, but also she's like not going to just easily let the wolf hey, here, go ahead and, we'll go on a date. No.
That's like every wolf is so iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, Swing Shift Cinderella hitting 80 this month. Yes, what I love so much about this is Felix the Cat travels with time. I love this because it's ironic in the fact that, again, we're talking about the time warp, and we're starting off with this month here, and Felix the Cat is literally it's like, hey, this is a little time travel perception by a team that no longer exists literally, and by audiences 100 years ago that watched this and were probably amazed at the ways and the techniques that were stylized to present the idea of Felix time travel.
You could put a clip on this here because it's public domain.
We'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.
I hope we don't age. We'll time warp to the next episode.
We're on the other side of the time warp. Bad Guys 2, I think, is a phenomenal movie. It improves on a lot, and it continues the story with this ensemble that we grew to love in the original movie. However, I think that there is just one thing, personally, that stops this from being one of DreamWorks' better movies and one of DreamWorks' better sequels. Here's a brief nugget on a shared review of Bad Guys 2 that you can find on the Screen Blast Society. DreamWorks, not only am I a fan, but they are, again, the cool uncle of the family feature film industry. They are honest, they are crude, but they're fun.
I like when you spoke. I like the little bit.
I'll talk about the one mistake. I'll talk about that later. But like, for instance, like I like the story where we see them in this situation that's super relatable, where they're all trying to find jobs, and whether it's because they're trying to turn a new leaf and everyone sees them differently, that you can be relatable to that, or it's because people don't want to hire you. And the feeling that you get is that they're just shredding your application, and you literally see that happen, Or you just want to be honest in your interview, and they tell like the Spider, and they just say, we don't want to hear your fucking honesty.
I like that idea. I
love this because it's ground level. There's a moment where they're in that broken down car, by the way, and I thought, man, that's such an honest vibe. Where like, they're all talking to each other in this broken down car, and it's like, or like they're sitting in their base or whatever. And same thing, they're sitting there and it's like, how'd your interview go? You let the ship happen. The ship has sailed. I love that for our characters. It's like, that Zootopia is never going to do that.
Like, it's creative with its action. And like, what I like about that scene is like, they're doing creative shit with like the action. And it was creative and cool looking. Because like, the animation of this movie is just satisfying.
Yes.
It's like, I love when the pig luchador just like, drop, and then it just like superhero lands on the stadium.
Yes.
And the stadium just like folds in and catapults like the everybody on the stadium in the middle.
Yes.
And then there's a crowd shot where the crowd becomes a tsunami wave. And then the police officer, the commissioner, wakes up in an outhouse and she starts like grabbing people through that wave. This has got to be like complicated animation to like structure. My dog's scratching itself. But like this got to be complicated animation to structure, cause like and grabbing people and like running in front of the crowds running through, and there's like car chasing. It's an amazing sequence.
Yes, 1,000%.
The thing about like this movie doesn't excel in like written humor. Like the visual humor is really good. There's a lot of charm to it. Written humor, there's not any jokes that make me cringe or faceplant. It's just more of like they don't hit a loud laugh out of me. But like a lot of the visual humor is really nice. Is really good. But like it's more of for what I get out of this movie more is like the satisfying animation. I think in the creativity of what they do with the action sequences.
I thought absolutely the animation is like this is it continues to build on a year that has an amazing selection of best animated features, and we're only 60% of the way through
How much
the year.
competition is this year alone?
I mean, you got Neza 2. You've got this movie. I think Dogman now slides out of that, but I think we talked about what was K-pop Demon Hunter. And there's another one too. I can't think of. There's another one. Not Elio. Definitely not.
Dear blew up Looney Tunes.
That too. There we go. So it's like
I mean, it doesn't make the top 3 for me, but like it's
what this.
Yeah.
I thought talking about the villain. I thought Kitty. My sister brought this up coming out of the theater because we started talking about this, and it was like. I don't like the way that the trio broke off so quickly. Again, I think there's an issue with just kind of quickly. They didn't give enough time to cook with this. Like, you compare, if you're going to do a trio, make them, again, if they're going to be the bad girls, if the bad guys are this group that kind of band together, all that, hold it down, you got to make the bad girls, which they used in the marketing, but they didn't really in the movie. It's like, they should have been a true team, and we don't really get any time to see them as a true team. We see them interacting when Snake is going on a quote unquote date with the bird, but we don't get any time where they're really a core trio, so we don't really get to see them at their maximum without the bad guys involved, which I think is really unfortunate because there's a claim out there that it's not them that they're making moves, that they're relying on skills that the bad guys have used previously. But again, we're not seeing really how good they are on their own, especially if they're threatening the bad guys in this way.
The movie's telling us they're giving the original bad guys a run for their money. They're going about these a lot slicker and a lot smoother than they were previously.
But instead, it's but we're not given that. We're not really. we're told that, but we're not shown that. And I think that's a real detriment to how good this villain could be. And again, once you break off the three, that's really a problem. And again, Kitty, if you're going to break off the three, then the main character Kitty should have clearly gotten a little more. Should have gotten more time, in fact. Like, I'm talking as much. This didn't even have as much time as Zen in Kung Fu Panda 4 type of missing development. Like, that's a problem. Before we get to the persketchtive, my final thoughts on the best animated feature race that has been brought up very early, I have to do my shout-outs here. I want to notably shout out 2K Doppler. 2K Doppler, I was introduced through Instagram. I don't know them, but what I've seen is this steady progression of development into what has become a fully fleshed out concept called Brooklyn Broke the Universe, and what has grown into something that is absolutely awesome, and I wish them the best of luck here. All of the character profiles and voice acting profiles that we've been getting over these past couple of weeks has been phenomenal, and again, these character designs are cool, and it's funny to see, and it's awesome to see when you think about how far this artist has come, especially way back when it was just working with Brooklyn here, way back. And, you know, like, it's cool to see. Much luck on Brooklyn Broke the Universe. I'll be keeping an eye on it. Of course, you can go ahead and check that out. All right, call it what you want. Call it an opinion piece. Call it an editorial. This is the persketchtive. It's something I used to do on this channel very often. Just personal thoughts about any given topic. And I thought, you know what? To wrap this debut of the new look ToonTalk, what if I brought this back and did this every single episode? So, let's talk about the best animated feature race that has gotten a lot of buzz for no reason whatsoever, because number one, it's not the end of the year, and number two, for some reason, the frontrunner is a movie that hasn't even come out yet in a year where foreign films have taken over and original films are fun as well. It's insane to think that Zootopia 2 gets the nod for Best Animated Feature right now. But if you go to Hollywood Reporter and Variety, at least, whoever wrote those articles earlier in August, you would see that for some reason Zootopia 2 is again top of the heap and guaranteed for some reason with the super American bias to get Best Animated Feature. I don't even know if it's good yet. You know why? It's not out yet. But here are great movies that came out this year that I've got to shout out. First things first, obviously we can talk Neza 2. Neza 2 is now the highest grossing movie of all time. Notably highest grossing, animated movie of all time. Now, we should all be grateful that Neza 2 made so much money because originally it was the CGI animated live-action kinda remake of Lion King, which is a soulless cash grab. However, Neza 2 being the top movie of all time is great. It's a great sign that animation is still flourishing in other markets, of course, but it's also a great sign because this is actually a really good movie to be on top. This is an amazing film filled with, again, this perfect balance. It's perfect with its comedy, it's perfect with its serious moments. The pure scale is enormous in this film. The sequences are amazing. I love the direction here. You get some sort of camera combat sequences that you usually don't get in CGI movies anymore because, well, if you look at least Disney, they kind of play it safe in how they direct their animated films. Meanwhile, you've got so many different amazing wide shots, so many different angles in this film. And, again, I love how saturated it is. I love the progression of all the characters. I love some of the decisions that are made with some of these characters. And it just does so much as a sequel. It's one of the great sequels of all time. And it's 2.5 hours of epic animation, and I think you can't go wrong with it. And because of that, I think if you're going to give Hayao Miyazaki's send-off movie, The Boy and the Heron, Best Animated Feature 2 years ago, you got to give this Best Animated Feature when it comes around next year, early next year, because it's just that good. However, it seems like we're getting a sort of sore spot, or it's getting ignored in the grand scheme of things. Talking about the grand scheme of things, the movie of the summer, K-pop Demon Hunters, you can't overlook this. Again, I talked earlier about it, but it's been everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. It's obviously the biggest thing that Netflix has created, at least so far. And that's a big staple because Netflix is one of the biggest things in entertainment right now. You cannot overlook Sony's impact. You can't overlook Sony's, the team behind this film. You can't overlook the chemistry between the three core characters, how it's presented. Again, it does a lot of fun things with its sequences in action. These are songs that are actually fully made. These are fully developed songs that are not just for a film. These are absolutely well done. They kind of try to get into the themes and the understanding of what you need to do if you're going to really make a K-pop Demon Hunter movie. This is not something that's using the name as a shell to sell that market. It's literally a really good movie. Shout out to Bad Guys 2. I obviously dropped the review briefly, or pieces of the review, in ToonTalk here earlier. But it is another great sequel. It does everything and more, even better. I love so much about those core characters, those bad guy core characters. I think it's fantastic how they progress everything. I like what they do with the governor and the big bad wolf there. I like, again, the potential of the antagonists, even though it's kind of undercooked in the end. Again, it's a really fun time. It's a really fun sequel, and they do everything to make it worth your time. Dogman was a surprise. I didn't know what to expect from that film, but it is absolutely beautifully imaginative. It's absolutely a great 90 minutes. It kind of reminds me of the Super Mario movie in that way, where it just, you sit down, you start the movie, and you're just rolling until it ends. It does not really slow down. And when it slows down, it's pretty heartfelt. It's pretty well done. It doesn't go for anything that cheap, but it does go for, just great laughs, and it's a really good time. Again, the voice acting here with Pete Davidson as Pete is amazing, but I think overall it's a just great fun movie to start off a year, and that's what Dogman was. Night of the Zoopocalypse, I'm going to shout out. I don't know if that counts for 2024 or 2025. I was going to shout out The Day the Earth Blew Up, but that's, I believe, counted as a 2024 movie. But Night of the Zoopocalypse is a smaller film, but they do a really good job of subverting your expectations on where it's going. In fact, it's a great welcoming for any audience into horror or into suspense. It really plays it's a really good time in that space. And again, how fluid the characters are and what they do with the zombies here is awesome. The lighting, again, just the character design. It's such a cool and interesting looking movie. I think I've said that about all of them, but hey man, it's great. So, not including The Day the Earth Blew Up, even if I was, these are all excellent animated films from this year. And again, the top should be Neza right now, if not K-pop Demon Hunters. But either of those two should be frontrunners, and there should be no reason why Zootopia 2, a movie that has yet to come out, ever deserves to be in the top race when it's not out yet. What are we doing? Acknowledge the movies that have really made this year excellent. Acknowledge the movies that have made being an audience member enjoyable, and don't just overlook them for a quick buck from the Mouse House, guys. All right, that's going to wrap the persketchive, and that's going to wrap the ToonTalk for August/September 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed. This will be the first, hopefully, of many, and I'll keep tweaking this technique and this format. So, all right, I'll see you guys later. Be safe out there.